We are being recorded. Welcome, everybody. We have Lucie online, our coordinator and our everything person. She was the one actually who designed our new Pace Leader signs. That was just an extra. I haven't laminated that one yet, but all good and exciting. In case you haven't heard, there's a little run this Sunday, and we have an
Hmm.
expo on tomorrow and Saturday that will help get you stuff and whatever for the little run on Sunday, which, fortunate, only 22,000 people generally show up at this thing.
What,
But
26,000, David? 26,000 this year.
26,000 sign
Yeah.
up. But yeah, at any rate, regardless, everybody applaud as best you can on Zoom. It's Lucie Murray.
Hi, everyone. This is so exciting. Like, this is what we've been working for the last 26 weeks. Um, it's really, it's really incredible. Sometimes I feel like we just started, and sometimes I feel like it's been like 3 years. So, I'm really excited to be at this point with all of you and to see this weekend unfold. I'm just going to talk a little bit about some logistics. I have a presentation, some slides just to kind of guide me, because otherwise I will go completely off the rails. So I'll share that in a moment. And then after I've done some logistics, I'll take some questions, and then I'm going to hand it over to David, who's going to talk a little bit more about sort of things you can do to prep for Sunday's event. So um, I'm going to, this is where I get to do that. I'm going to share my screen now. Hold on one moment. Go to my right screen. Sorry, guys. Let me just take a moment here.
I see your slide, by the way.
Phenomenal. I want it to
Mhm.
present those so that you can't see all my tabs and silliness. There we
Oh,
go. All right. Now, can you see the full
hmm.
screen ahead? Amazing. All right. Okay. So here we are. This will be you in just a couple short days. The ASICS Los Angeles Marathon is on Sunday. In case you don't know me, this is me. I'm Lucie Murray. I'm the Senior Manager of Community and Youth Programs. And you, of course, know the amazing Coach David. So first things first, as I said, this is it. We're going into race weekend starting tomorrow morning. Friday is the Lifestyle Expo that opens, bib pickup, AKA. Saturday is the LA 5K and Kids Run. I'm going to go into this in more detail. I'm just sort of giving you the snapshot here. And then Sunday is the ASICS Los Angeles Marathon. All of our events are sold out. Kids Run, LA 5K, and LA Marathon, and the Charity Half Marathon, all sold out. Obviously, there's no regular LARR meetings in any of our locations this weekend, but we do have a shakeout run that I'll talk about. But I just wanted to take this reminder at the top to say, read your final instructions. That is the email that you got that has it. There's also, you can go onto the website, go onto lamarathon.com, go to race weekend overview. You'll find the final instructions. It's a long booklet because it's a long race. So there's a lot of information in there about parking, transportation, where gear check is. It's got maps. It's got everything you need to understand what's happening on race weekend. Please take a moment, sit with it, read through it, take your time so that you can plan. It's a lot to take on a marathon, and just knowing sort of how you're going to get there, how you're going to get home, where you're going to meet your family if they're coming to the finish line, all of that is really, really helpful. There's also a feature now on the website called Run Concierge, and it's a chat bot that is like that, or an AI like chat bot that's actually using information from our website. So it doesn't pull any information from other random websites. It's all from our website. And basically you can type in a quick question. So if you're like, what time does the expo close on Friday? It'll tell you. What can go, what's at the aid stations on the course, it'll tell you. So If you have quick questions that you can't really find in the final info, or you just want to ask super, while you're on the go at the expo, that's a great resource. Also, take time to download the LA Marathon app. This is where you'll have runner tracking, but you can also see the course. I should also tell you, in Run Concierge, you can say things like, find a coffee shop at mile 17, since your spectators are going to be there, and it'll tell you what's around mile 17, coffee shops and all. So, or if you just want to duck into a coffee shop, I don't know. And then obviously keep an eye on social media. We will be posting a few more things on the LARR page, but really keep an eye on the LA Marathon page. That's where, the majority of the information about race weekend is going out. And as I said, once you've read your final instructions, make sure you have a plan for race weekend and race morning. Think about your flat runner, right? That's where you lay out everything sitting on a chair. I advise people to do this a couple days before the race, because when you're putting things out, you suddenly go, oh, I don't have enough gels, or, oh, my water bottle has a leak, or, I don't have matching socks. Whatever it is, put out your flat runner. Make sure you have everything. You can go to the expo and buy stuff, or go to your local, Big Five or whatever to buy, or run store to get stuff. Make sure you think about your travel plan. Talk to your spectators. What are they expecting? Do they want to see you at the finish line? Do they want to see you on course? These are all things you can start thinking about. And then, of course, your fueling and hydration, which David talks about a lot, and I know he's going to talk a little bit about later. So as I said, Friday, if you decide to come to the Lifestyle Expo at Dodger Stadium tomorrow, it is open 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. This is where you will pick up your bib. If you're an LARR member, you have automatically seeded Corral Bib B, or Corral B. So that means that your bib will have a B on it and then your numbers. So when you get to the expo, there's going to be 2 sets of tables to go up to. You can go up to the seated corrals, A through E, or you can go to the open corrals. You're going to go to the seated corrals, and they're going to give you your bib that has a letter B on it. If you're not an LARR member and you're just listening in, check your corral. If you're in seated corrals, you go same process. Open corrals, you'll go to the other tables. And basically that B gives you access to corral B or anything slower. The only corral you don't have access to is A. So just because you have a B doesn't mean you need to be in the B corral. Your pace leader might be in E or even the open corral, and that's okay to move anywhere you want to. That just gives you the pass if you want the front of the line pass. When you're there, you're also going to get in line to pick up your t-shirt, your ASICS shirt, and a clear plastic bag. That's the bag that you're going to use for gear check. You cannot bring your stuff for gear check in a bag that is not clear. So please, please, please bring that. The nice thing about it is it has a space to write your bib number on it. So you can write your bib number nice and big on there. And then when you drop it off at the gear check trucks on race morning, they'll get it to the right place at the finish line. Also in that line, they'll give you any challenge medal stickers. So if you've earned double play or triple 5K or Conquer LA or even SFLA challenge, you'll get those stickers there. In that main line, you will get, if you have run the LA Marathon for at least 2 consecutive years, so you ran it in 2025 and this year, you will also, when you pick up your bib, get a sticker, an LA Loyal sticker that you can either put on your bib to show that you're LA Loyal, or you can put it anywhere you want. You can put it on your water bottle, your laptop, whatever, on your forehead, doesn't matter. You can do that, whatever you want with that LA Loyal sticker. In the past, we had separate LA Loyal bibs, and it just became very wasteful. Just the way that we had to order them and all the seated corrals and the open corrals, they really were very wasteful. And, we really want to make sure that we're not throwing as much stuff into the landfill as possible. Also, I think that this will streamline our bib pickup a little bit. So now you have the sticker, so you can put it on yourself. It's the same size as the Loyal logo would have been on the bib. So if you want to use it that way, great. If you don't keep your bibs and you want to use the sticker for something else, great. So you'll get that, and you'll also get your 2-year pin. Again, those will be at the bib pickup area. So when you get that, all of that stuff is going to be at the same time. Now, if you are LA Loyal 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or I guess actually, or 11 to 16 years, you will go to the LA Loyal swag tent. And that's where you'll get your, your hat or your hoodie or your mug or your stadium bag this year. So that's what you'll do there. If you're only 2 years or 3 years, or even if you're 6 years, don't go to that tent. Don't go stand in one extra line. You don't need to. Once you've done all that, you will walk through the ASICS store. So I'm going to show you here on my map. You've done it here. You then walk through the ASICS store. And on the other side of the ASICS store, after you bought a ton of stuff, you will find the LARR tent. And this year we have a little bit more space. This was last year. We have actually a 20 by 20, so nice big space. That's where you will pick up your wristband in order to get into the loge area on race morning. You must have a wristband. It's not just us. Dodger Security will not let you in without a wristband. So please make sure to come and pick it up. If you haven't picked up your member shirts, you can still do that. We do have limited sizes, but we still have shirts. So come on by, get that. If you didn't get your shoe tag, you can pick it up. We'll have all of that in that booth. Plus, we'll have pace bands, and Evolution PT will be bringing a couple of their chairs, their compression boots. And I think Kathleen is also going to bring a table, and we found a spot to set her up so that if you've got any nagging tweaks, you can go and talk to her about it. Just a quick note, though, going back to the expo and your bib pickup, please, 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 you should have received a check-in pass in the email. That's your QR code. Have that ready, and your ID. That they need that at bib pickup. And please remember, you must pick up your own bib. You can't pick up for a spouse or a child. Doesn't matter. You have to pick up your own bib. So, okay, next one. Again, Saturday. So Saturday is a little different. We have a shakeout run in Griffith Park. We choose Griffith Park for the shakeout run because it's closest to Dodger Stadium. Anyone is welcome. So if you're not an LARR member, or if you have friends who are running that you'd like to bring, you're more than welcome to. It's 8:30 in the morning at Shane's Inspiration, which is our usual meeting spot. It'll be up to a 2-mile run or walk. So I say up to 2 miles. If you're like, I'm good with 15, with just 10 minutes out and back, that's fine. But you can go up to 2 miles. David will, put his fist down and say, no more than 2 miles. But, if you're walking, I'll let him be the person who dictates that distance. And also, actually, one of the therapists from Evolution PT is going to come out from 8 a.m. to 7:15. So she'll be there before the run if you have questions, and a little bit after. So that's going on in Griffith Park. LA 5K is happening at Dodger Stadium. So if you're registered for that, obviously come up there instead of the shakeout run. That's starting at 8 a.m. And then we have the kids run at 9:45. And then, of course, the Lifestyle Expo is 10 to 5 p.m. I will say that if you're participating in the 5K, the Expo does open a little earlier. So you can go right after the 5K and go into the Expo and pick up your bib for the marathon. Same deal. All the same stuff that I mentioned in the previous slide. And then Sunday, the big day, arrive early. If you haven't heard this from your pace leader or your friends who've done this before, or if you haven't sat in traffic trying to get to Dodger Stadium, arrive early. I think the gates open to Dodger Stadium at 3 a.m. That's about when I usually arrive. The Loge, however, opens at 4:45, although sometimes they do open it a little bit earlier, but I don't want to make any promises. We suggest definitely being there by 5:15. So get on that early shuttle. If you're driving there, get there early, whatever you have to do. Remember, you need to have that wristband to get into the Loge. We will do a group photo. And for those of you who don't know, the Loge is like this, it's sort of an outdoor indoor space, right? So it's covered, there's concrete bathrooms. It's a really nice space that all of the only LARR can get into. 6 a.m. is our group photo. It's, you know, a little bit like herding cats. So when you hear me start screaming and yelling to come and take the group photo, please listen. Thank you. And then after that, Coach David does his talk. And then you guys leave the Loge around 6:15. That is because the seated corrals close at 6:30. That means after 6:30, you can't get in there. And gear check closes at 6:40. So just to give you a sense of where it all is on this map, if you're driving your own car, you'll come in over here. You'll walk past the start line and the corrals. And then this is the entrance to, around here is the entrance to the LARR area. These trucks are gear check. The shuttles drop off around here, and then you just walk over. So the nice thing is gear check is really close to where we are. So it's easy to drop and then walk. You do have to walk all the way around here back to get into Corral B or C, D, and E. And then the main field starts at 7 a.m. So we do have wheelchair start at 6:30. At about 6:40, the pro women's field starts. So if you hear commotion and start lines, that's what's happening. And then at 7 a.m. is the pro men or the elite men, and then the main seated corrals will go at 7 a.m. And just so you know, the reason that the pro women go first is we have a race within the race. So we start there's a perfect calculation that Tony Revis does that figures out how much earlier the women need to start in order for it to basically create this race so that the first person across the finish line, whether male or female, is the winner of the challenge or the chase. And so that's why the pro women start a little bit earlier and then the men catch up, but they've given them just enough, the perfect calculation of time so that it's an even race. So, you know, the gun goes off at 7 a.m. It usually takes about 20 minutes to 25 minutes to get the main field over the start line. And then SRLA goes at the very end. So it usually clears by about 7:30. And by the way, the course closures, course time limits are based on the last person to cross the start line, not the first person. So it doesn't matter, you know, the beginning of the race. It's really more the last person to cross the start line is when we start looking at that course limit. And I'll talk about course limits in a moment. Here are our wonderful pace leaders and the signs that David mentioned. So this is our the marathon pace leader sign. So now, unlike previous years, it has the goal time and it has the pace per mile. And they're horizontal. The charity half marathon are vertical, and they have the, again, goal finish time and pace per mile. Our pace leaders have goal pace times of 3 to 6.5 hours. In the seated corrals, they are the 3 to 5 hour pacers, and then the open corrals are the 3:30 to 6:30 pacers, and then the charity half leaves at 8:30. So I'll talk a little bit more about some of the things we've been talking about with our pace leaders, given the weather on Sunday, but just wanted you to see those pace signs. So speaking of race day weather, you know, all been watching it closely. It's, seems to change a little bit every day, which is, kind of frustrating, but also hopeful, because yesterday I think it said 85 degrees and then it went back down again today. So this is about today, this evening, what that temperature is, what the temperatures are going to look like. So the start is going to be about 50 to 60 degrees. Around 10 a.m., which is about 2.5 to 3 hours in, it'll be about 70 degrees. Noon, it'll be 77 degrees. So that's about 4.5 to 5 hours in. And then 2 p.m. is when it hits its peak at 82 degrees, which is 7 to 7.5 hours. And David will talk a little bit more about this, but one of the things that we are, we obviously, the heat is not ideal. It definitely creates a more challenging course. And so our pace leaders will be adjusting their pace a little bit in order to accommodate for the heat. And, that could be between maybe 5 to 15% slower than their usual pace. And obviously earlier in the day, it's not going to be quite as hot, but they will, as they get later in the day, that pace will probably slow down a bit. So again, David will talk a little bit more about this. I just wanted to mention that. But I also want to mention that our pace leaders will still be using their regular pace signs. That is so that you and the general field can understand, this is what I've trained for. This is the pace that I've trained for. But today I'm going to, we're going to pull it back a little bit. And this is where I probably should be today. So they will still be on course. They will still have their signs. They will just be communicating to the group around them that they're going to be going a little bit slower in order to accommodate the heat, especially as they get later in the day. Some other things that the marathon is doing to help with the hotter temps, especially later in the day, there will be misting stations. I know for sure towards the last 8 miles, there'll be ice towels at the finish line. There will be sodium or salt packets at the medical stations, as well as sunblock. If you want to pop into the medical stations, those are every 2 miles. There's a dropped runner shuttle. So even if if it feels like it's going pretty badly and you feel like you're not feeling good, you want to stop your race for the day. They are at, I wrote even water stations. They're actually at odd numbered water stations. So I will, it is in the final info. Basically, if you go to a water station with an odd number, I think it's after mile 7, you can wait there and a shuttle loops around and it'll pick you up and take you to the finish line. Another thing that we're offering this year, you may or may not have seen, if it's just not your day and you get to mile 18 and feel like it's just too much, you have the option of actually turning off the course at the Charity Half Marathon exit, which is right near the finish line, basically. And you can go through the finish line, you can collect your medal and, get all your stuff. It won't impact your other challenge medals or your loyal status or anything like that. It is going to be a warm day. And so if the stars are not aligning and you're just not feeling good, especially if you're a slower runner, or maybe, you take it a little too fast at the beginning. David always says, slow down, but, sometimes we don't listen. So if the proverbial wheels fall off and you need that option, that is an option. We'll adjust your time later. So it will reflect an 18-mile finish time. And then course limits, as I mentioned, so the start we have a 6.5 hour course limit, right? So that means at 6.5 hours, we need to start giving the streets back to the cities that we run through. And that is a 15-minute mile pace. The course limit of 6.5 hours starts, as I mentioned, when the last person crosses the start line. So around 7:30. And then at every 15 minutes on a rolling basis, the street sweepers are coming through, the aid stations are closing up. You can still keep going, but you will need to move to the sidewalk. And unfortunately, even though the heat will be slowing people down, we can't change our course limit. We have really wonderful relationships with the cities that we run through, Los Angeles, West Hollywood, and Beverly Hills. And part of their, our agreement with them is that they get the residents of the businesses get their streets back. So we can't change the course time limit, but just know you can go on the sidewalk. There are late water stations later in the course. I think you can ask that little run concierge. I think they're 17, 21, and 23, I want to say. Please don't quote me on that. You can find it in final info. They're late water stations. They stay open until about 5 or 6 o'clock. And then we do have a late finish line. So the main finish line stays open until 2 o'clock, although sometimes it stays open a little later. That's the one on Santa Monica Boulevard. But again, we do have to take that down at some point, and it is a very time-consuming process to take it down. So last year we had a late finish line on Avenue of the Stars in front of Italy. It had its own arch, timing mat, medals. The medic was there until 8 p.m. Volunteers, water, heat sheets, all the things that you need were there until 5 p.m. And then actually after that, some of our legacy participants stay and they wait for all of their guys to come in. So honestly, there are people on Avenue of the Stars till probably, I don't know, 8 p.m. So if you really feel like you want to stay out there and finish, you probably want to make sure that somebody that you know and love is willing to come out and support you and maybe bring you what you need, but you can keep going. So some practical tips, right? So we're talking about heat and, the fact that it is a warm day, but don't panic. You've been training. You have been training for this, and you have the advantage of having been trained in Los Angeles. So chances are you've had some hot running and, you'll be okay. Everything will be fine. Just, if you need to, and as you need to, and you probably will, slow your pace. Run the effort, not the pace, right? So what it feels like to do your mileage, what your heart rate feels like, your pace. Go by that. You might even want to ditch your watch or put it in your pack so you don't have to, not constantly, obsessing on what pace you're going. That way you can run a little bit more by feel. Adjust your goal. If you come to the Expo or the LARR tent and pick a pace band, maybe pick a different pace band, maybe one that's a little slower, 10 to 15 minutes or 10 to 20 minutes slower than you usually do. Make it a fun run. This is a great course. There's so many cool sites in LA. I mean, why not just actually look up and see all the cool things that we pass by on the course? Go party pace. Stop by run clubs. There's a ton. We have about 100 cheer zones, charity and run club booths along the course, especially the back 8. And so they've got ice towels. They've got biofreeze and cool and fit and water and Twizzlers and you name it, they've got it. So don't feel like those run clubs are only giving stuff to their people. Anyone can go to those booths, stop by, grab something. Our clubs are super supportive of this event and are really, I think, going to show up in the most major way on Sunday. So, and then my final thing is to ask ChatGPT. So, AI gets, some of us are a little skeptical of it, but I thought it would be kind of fun to do a prompt, and I'm going to show you what I put in. So I said, my ChatGPT prompt was, I'm running a marathon that will be 60 degrees at the start line and 80 degrees at noon. I'm a 4-hour marathon. What is my mile by mile pace adjusted for the heat? And it came up with it. It told me that for 3 to 6% slower gradually, this could be my pace. Now, this doesn't account for the hills of LA. So, this is just a guide, but it's got me doing a 9:10 early and then a 9:41 towards the end. So I thought, well, that seems still a little fast, right? That's only a 4:05. So maybe I want to slow down a little bit more. So I said, can you redo those splits slowing to 10 at a 10% rate? And so it did. It said, okay, that's going to be about a 4:24 average pace of 10:04. And then it broke it down into what that might look like for the first 6 miles, 7 through 13, 14 through 20, and 21 through 26. Now, obviously race day conditions, you're going to use your judgment and decide, and your feel, but this might be a nice way to sort of understand about what that might look like to slow down to 10% rate or 15%. So just a fun tool and kind of a fun way to look at ChatGPT that might be useful for you. So that's all I have in my presentation, my logistics. I'd be happy to answer any questions about sort of race day logistics before handing it over to David. I actually see some things in the chat, so I'll answer these real quick. And then I see a hand up. So somebody asked, can I change the size of my shirt or singlet in the Expo? Absolutely, as long as it's, not the one you've been wearing for the last 26 weeks. Bring it to the Expo. And the only thing is I don't have all sizes. So, but bring it, we'll see if we can swap it out. And then, okay, will gear check be available past 3:30 on race day to pick up? I'm assuming you mean, Kayla. And yes, the late gear check truck goes to the late finish line. So yes, it's there until, I think we keep it there until 5 p.m. And then it does go back to the office. So that's the only thing is, if it's after 5 p.m., you're probably, not going to have to come arrange to pick it up at the office. EBS, what are the pace bands? I'm sorry, I glossed over that. The pace bands are basically a sheet of paper, a little slip of paper that David has taken the formula of each mile of the LA Marathon and basically created a pace per mile based on the elevation of our course. It's a paper strip that breaks that down for each pace group. So if you're a 4:40 marathoner, you would pick up the 4:40 band. It's not, there's nothing fancy. It's just a little piece of paper, but I also have a digital version that you could screenshot on your phone. And it just gives you like what your pace is going to be based on the hills. And anyone can pick those up. I got like 500 of each pace. So, and let's see. So Christina asked, will all pace leaders have a sign or will the walk groups come together to decide who is carrying it? I think the pace groups will have a sign. Rose Bowl was a little different, I think, because there were so many pace leaders for so few pace groups. It's a much different beast at LA Marathon because we do have groups in the seated corrals and the open corrals. Thank you, Lindsay, for jumping in here, by the way. I see you answering a lot of these questions. If our friends and family prepay for a parking spot at Century City, what time would you recommend they arrive there? Early. Only because Century City gets really, really congested. There's a lot happening. And so the earlier they arrive, the better. There's a Starbucks over there. They could come get a great seat right in the bleachers at the finish line. There's actually going to be there's a DJ at the finish line on top of the bus, the double-decker bus. They're going to be doing all kinds of, there's actually going to be some prizes and things like that are going to be at the finish line. So if you have, people who don't mind sitting there for a while and are ready to hang out, send them over. They can also go into the mall. There are some restaurants there. I'm not sure what time they open, but definitely early. Oh, Jamie, yes, you mentioned the times change. I forgot to put that in my slides. This is what happens when I get this close to race week. So yes, the time change is on Sunday morning. A couple of great tips that I've heard. John Bowman suggested now adjusting to an earlier schedule, right? So go to bed a little earlier, wake up a little earlier, eat a little earlier. So you're kind of gradually moving into that 1 hour time difference. Another thing is keep in mind that depending on what time you set your alarm for, you may, your clock, your iPhone will change from 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. It's going to skip an hour. So instead of setting an alarm, or maybe as well as setting an alarm, a tip that I heard that I thought was great was to set a timer. So if you go to bed at 9 and you want to wake up at 3, that's a 6-hour timer. So just an extra little layer of sort of, not, that we're nervous enough on race night. So one less thing to worry about. And then if you have a battery operated alarm clock, this is maybe time to dust it off and change the batteries. I've seen Erica's hand up, and I want to move over there.
Hi, thank you. This is my first marathon, so I'm a little confused between the seated pace corrals and the open corrals. Can you explain that, please?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the LA Marathon has seated corrals in the front that are generally reserved for people who qualify with a time. So you have to, for corral A, you have to have, I believe it's faster than a 3:10. It's around there, maybe 3:20. For corral B, there's certain time verifications that you have to submit a time and say, I ran last year at a 4-hour pace, and then you get granted to one of the seated corrals. And then behind that is the open corrals, and that's where anyone can line up. And they have guidance for where you should line up in the corrals, but you self-seed. So you put yourself in the open corrals. LARR members get, as part of their membership, automatic entry into corral B. So that means they can go into any corral, B through E, or open, but just not A. But it doesn't mean that that's where you should be. It just means you have access to that corral. Does that
Okay,
make a
that
little
makes
bit more
sense.
sense? Yep.
Yeah, a lot. So if I'm right now E and it's open, and but by what time do you think that corral would actually be starting? Like 7:30?
No. So the A through E will start with the pro field at 7 a.m. So that could take about 10 minutes to get across the start line. A through E will take about 10 minutes. The second wave, so the open corrals, will take another 10 to 12 minutes, right? And then the final, so the seated corrals will go, the open corral will move up. They'll have a minute, maybe, I don't know exactly what amount of time, but it's not long. And then the next one goes. And that also helps our aid stations and water stations not get hit with everybody all at once, but it also does. So it separates the field. And then we have one more wave, which is SRLA, and they go at the very end. So they're the ones that will be crossing between about 7:20 and 7:30.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Of course. Great. Okay. I see what's great is I am seeing a lot of these questions being answered in the chat. So I would say if there are any other questions, if you want to, oh, Evie, do you have a question?
Yeah, so is it a general rule that the groups just continue on when someone has to stop to use the porta potty and then they just have to run and find the group and catch up?
Yes, yeah. So the pace leaders are there to pace for the entire field. And yeah, so if you need to stop, they'll have to keep going. My first marathon, I made the mistake of stopping. A friend of mine kept going and I needed to stop for the porta potty. And I sped up super fast to try to catch up with her. And David is shaking his head because he knows it took me about a minute to catch her. And I was going like I was sprinting at mile 16, which was so stupid. And so, yeah, it totally wrecked my legs. So, you know, I don't want to say don't stop and go to the bathroom, but do keep that in mind. You could even, I mean, I don't know. Maybe some of the other pace leaders have tips on what to do about that.
I too, in my first marathon in 2012, LA Road Run or LA Marathon, I had to use the restroom early, and I swear I must have spent 23 miles looking for my group and trying to find them. And I don't know that they had signs then too. So,
Evie,
Yeah.
it's Lindsay. I've been a pace leader for 23 years. They haven't thrown me out yet. I sent back a reply to everyone. I'm the one that's trying to answer stuff so David and Lucy can move through things that I can't answer. But there's going to be thousands of people on this course. If you become separated because you need to use the bathroom or for any other reason, you're going to find someone who's at your same pace. Just follow along with them. You'll be friends.
I've
And
decided that I'll just run by myself. I've learned how to
yeah,
run walk
yeah,
with my watch, and I'll be
yeah.
there with them in spirit. But thank you.
Yeah, there you
And if
go.
you feel you fall really far behind, you're not really far behind. SRLA has 20 of their own pace leaders out there with their kids. You can join any of them. They're very friendly.
And you may even actually get the open corral pace leader coming up. So, or the next pace group, right? They might be going a little bit slower, but you could probably, move back to them, meet some new friends. Great. Christina.
So I know at the end we all get a medal, but I know there's like the Conquer and then the double play. What does that one pick those up?
Yeah. So I will say 555K, you're going to pick up at the end of the LA 5K. So if you're doing
Okay.
that one,
Okay.
the other ones, double play, Conquer LA and SFLA, if you do those, are after you get your main medal for the marathon, you'll keep going, and those will be further down the chute. And because you'll have the stickers on your bib, you'll be able to go to those tables, and they'll give you that one. If for some reason you get really loopy because you've just run 26 miles and you're excited and you're crying and you're everything and you forget to pick up your medal, the good thing is you're in LA. We have them back at the warehouse, and if you need to arrange to come pick it up at a later time, you can. So don't panic if you you get home and go, oh my God, I ended up forgetting something. Don't worry.
And then maybe it's a little bit off topic, but no, because of the bibs. At the beginning you said everybody has to pick up their own bibs.
Mm-hmm.
I did talk to David about it, but for the LA5K, I am pushing my brother. He's in a wheelchair, but he doesn't walk or talk. He doesn't have access to pick up his own bib. Can I pick up
That's
for him?
fine, Christina. Yeah, come and see me, and
Okay.
we'll arrange that. That's
All right.
perfectly fine. Thank you for
Perfect.
bringing
Thank
that
you.
up.
Thank you. That's it.
Great. Okay. Well, I'm going to let David take the floor now. Feel free to keep putting questions into the chat if you have about logistics. Lindsay is like in there and she's rocking it with the answers, but I will also chime in as needed. But I'm going to hand it over to David to talk about anything to consider from the coachy side of things. So thanks, everybody.
The coachy side. From the coachy side, basically, I want to tell you that we have, the Rose Bowl half, we only had about 9 pace groups, something like that. It was between 1:30 and 3 hours. Here with the LA Marathon, we have pace leaders with signs going from 3 hours to 6.5 hours. That's 3.5 hours worth of 28 different pace signs and pace groups. We even have pace groups that are slower than that, all the way to about 8 hours. So there were way more pace groups for the LA Marathon than we have for the half. The other thing I wanted to tell you, by the way, Lucy, you'll probably be excited to hear we kind of broke the bank on this one tonight. We had 100 participants online. Since I just jumped on, it went down to we're at 98. But I don't think we can add more than 100. I think there were people that could not probably get in because there were 100 online already. At any rate, congratulations to you. Good job. Um, I only want to talk about a couple of different things. Um, right now, according to centurycityweather.com, at about 11 o'clock, it's going to be about 75 degrees. That's fairly warm. That's for 10, excuse me, at about 10 o'clock, that's our 3 hour group. It's going to be about 75 degrees. And later on, our 4 hour group, it's going to be close to 80. And then close thereafter, it will be 80, 84 will be the peak for the day right now. Maybe only 82. It seems to be hovering and going up and down. But um, your heart rate is going to be a lot higher, or excuse me, your heart rate will be a little higher if you go at the same anticipated goal race pace. And if your heart rate is higher, that means you're depleting glycogen reserves. That limited reservoir of glycogen that we have, and you can run low on that, and you hit the wall. So we don't want to do that. So here's my prescription for the LA Marathon. Even on a normal run, this is a wide band of possibilities for resources that you need to take in during the race itself. If you hit this, you'll at least be on the right track, bettering yourself for any marathon. You may need a little more for this one with the heat. So here we go. Three things: hydration, liquid, meaning water or electrolyte. There will be at every water stop once a mile, there will be another water stop. There are a row of 10 tables, right? Or whatever it is. There'll be electrolyte, water at each water stop, like all these tables in a row. So you're going to need hydration, you're going to need sodium, and you're going to need carbohydrate. Sodium helps you absorb hydration. If you don't have enough sodium, you're not going to be able to absorb that hydration, and you may start getting nauseous because the water's sitting in your stomach, and your subconscious brain wants to get rid of that excess water, and you're sitting in your stomach that you cannot absorb because you don't have enough sodium, and your mind wants to just get rid of it, meaning that's why you're nauseous. At any rate, the third thing, like I say, are carbohydrate. You're going to be depleting carbohydrate even a little faster now if you are running at race pace. But even at normal race pace on a cool day, you still need to take in carbohydrates. So here are some numbers to think about. Hydration. This is a broad range, but it depends on the size of person you are. It goes from petite human being to large human being, right? So hydration. You need about 4 ounces. We're going to be having, I wish I had one of those cups. They're different cups this year. They're only 6 ounce cups. They're like green and white cups this year because they're biodegradable. Pardon me. And so they only hold 6 ounces. The old white cups that we always used to use at the marathon, and we still use in our training because we have tons left. Those were 8 ounce. So these are going to be six, a little smaller. So figure you're going to get about 4 ounces per, stop per table, right? Each one every mile. So 4 ounces, you're going to need about 4 ounces of liquid, electrolyte or water, every 10 to 15 minutes. That means for anyone slower than a 10-minute per mile pace, you may need to stop at every water table, and every so often, if you're slower than that, much slower than that, especially, you may need to stop at every water table and take one on one table, and then a few tables down, take another. And the way to drink is just you have a round cup, pinch that cup, and then use that little V that you've just pinched as a funnel and then kick it back. You'll get way more water than if you take it round and it comes outside your mouth, right? Pinch the cup, kick it back. Um, if worse comes to worse, if you do start feeling nauseous because you don't have enough sodium, which we're going to talk about next, they do have packets. I'm not sure. I think Lucy mentioned this, but they will have packets of salt. Salt contains sodium, like you would get at McDonald's, packets of salt at the emergency care stations. So if someone's feeling nauseous because they have water in their stomach, they're not getting in enough sodium, either in pill form or in with electrolyte or whatever. Electrolyte doesn't have a lot of sodium, by the way. It's really limited on the sodium that electrolyte has. You're probably going to need some other source for sodium intake. Gels have not a lot either, a fair amount, way more than electrolyte, I believe. But still, you're going to need, here's the sodium thing, you're going to need about 300 to 600 milligrams of sodium per hour. That's 300 to 600 milligrams of sodium per hour. Once again, that's the petite person would get less, the bigger person would get more. Um, but I know a lot of people that need more, like 1,000 milligrams of sodium per hour. I have one runner we just tested about a year ago. He sweats bullets in a cool, conditioned area, and he needed more like 2,000 milligrams of sodium per hour. That's unusual, but I probably personally need about 800 myself milligrams per hour. I did have a PR, my lifetime PR. The finish line was 83 degrees, but I was popping like 100 milligram or plus milligrams of sodium in a pill, a capsule, one of those clear capsule pills, um, like every 20 minutes, and then a gel beyond that. So I looked like a drug addict running down the street popping pills. I was afraid someone was going to see this and kind of worry about me. What the hell am I taking? But it's just mineral pills. At any rate, it enabled me. That was one reason it enabled me to have a lifetime PR with an 83-degree finish line heat. At any rate, um, that's a key. The other thing is carbohydrate. You're going to need, again, the average person is going to need about 40 to 60, excuse me, the smaller, the larger, you're going to need about 40 to 60 grams grams of carbohydrate per hour. Now, keep in mind, goo as a gel is only about 22 or 23, depending on the flavor, grams in one gel. So that would mean in order to get like 45 grams in an hour, you would need one goo every half hour. Now, Precision, which has zero sodium, don't forget Precision gels that you'll get on the course at mile 12 and then again at mile 18. Those Precision gels have zero sodium in them. So don't count on that gel that you get from someone's box and that they're handing them out to people, all over the place. Don't count on that for sodium. Um, but they do have like 30 grams of carbohydrate in those precision gels. For that reason, carbohydrate wise, they're great. Goo 22, 23, precision has 30 grams. It's a plus, it's a real plus. Um, Endurance ultra athletes who take the most volume of carbohydrate on an ultra marathon generally win the race. I'm talking about like a 100-mile race. And we're talking about people who can do like twice the volume of carbohydrate intake. We're talking like sugar intake. Carbs metabolize themselves into sugar. So they're talking about twice of what the normal human being can stomach without feeling nauseous. Again, too much carbohydrate can make you feel nauseous. Remind yourself as when you were a kid after Halloween, when you ate too much candy. I'm sure we've all been there, and you started feeling nauseous from eating too much sugar. Same deal with taking in too much carbs. Carbs metabolize into sugar. It's the same thing. Um, we metabolize sugars quicker when we're running at higher heart rate. We turn it into glycogen a little quicker. We metabolize it into fuel a little quicker while we're at a little higher heart rate because our body needs it quicker. But essentially, what I'm trying to say is the more carbs you can stomach before you start feeling nauseous, the better, right? The average person cannot do more than like 66 grams of carbohydrate before you start feeling nauseous. So you may not want to push the pedal on that one too much. Figure 40 to 60 grams per hour, though. Again, the more the better. Okay. Um, Keeping your heart rate low, a lot of times everyone is an individual. A lot of times your group on a warm day will go up a hill. You may be impacted by the heat more than your group. So let the group get up that hill, especially early in the race, especially in those first 6 miles. Let the group get up that hill a little quicker than you. On maybe this day when it's warm out, um, maybe this is a day when you're not completely aligned with your group because of the heat. Now, you should understand 7 in the morning in Dodger Stadium. I don't have an exact Weather.com will not give you an exact Dodger Stadium. Oh, maybe it will. No, it did not give me an exact Dodger Stadium weather report, but it gave me an LA weather report. It gave me a Griffith Park weather report, rather similar. When you arrive at Dodger Stadium at 7 o'clock, when the gun goes off, I believe it's going to be, let me see where we're at today, right now. You at 7 o'clock, it will be about 60 degrees. Here we go. 7:01, 60 degrees at Dodger Stadium. And at about 5 o'clock, 61 degrees. It's going to be about the same. And then at 7 again, like I said, 60 degrees. So, whoops. Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. That's a little off. Um, Let me give you some ideas as the day progresses. Our 3 hour marathon will finish at about 10 o'clock, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 o'clock, 3 hour. That's going to be 70 degrees. Our 4 hour marathoners are going to be 75 degrees at 11 o'clock. 12 o'clock, our 5 hour marathoners are going to be 78 degrees at the finish line. 6 hour at what did I say? 12, 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, it's going to be 80 degrees. And 2 o'clock, it'll still be 81 degrees. So it's going to warm up. The longer you are out there, you're going to get into some real serious warm heat. Let me find LA. So more reason to slow it down a little more because your heart rate's automatically going to be higher from the heat. You want to lower your heart rate, meaning slow it down. Here, let's see. Sunday, the starting line, LA. Here we go. 7 in the morning in LA will be 58 degrees. So when you arrive at 5 o'clock, it will be 60. It'll then go down to 58 at 7. And then 8 o'clock in downtown will be 60 degrees. And then it really starts climbing from there. 9 o'clock at 64, 10 o'clock at 69, excuse me, at 10:30 at 70. And then as you get into more like closer to Century City, it'll be kind of climbing and jumping up from there. Um, so it's going to be, it will have an impact. It will definitely have an impact. We are going to give pace leaders a different idea of what their finish times may be. We're going to give all our pace leaders their normal finish time signs. 3:30 will be carrying the 3:30 sign. 3 hour will be carrying the 3 hour. 5 hour will be carrying a 5 hour sign, though 5 hour may be a little slower than 5 hours due to the heat. So look for your pace leader sign. They will be lined up in order. Open corral, I don't think we mentioned. Open corral will have the signs from 3:30 to 6:30. We'll all have signs. And then walkers, our 6:30, by the way, is a walker. Walkers will be 6:15, 6:45, 7, 8 hour. Those walking groups will all not have signs. Our 5:45 and 6 hour walkers will not have walking signs, but those pace leaders for all those walk groups will be there. They just won't have those finish time signs. 6:30 is officially the finish time. But of course, like Lucy said, there will be some water stations open. Special beyond that, walkers may want to carry some water just in case, which you guys usually do. Um, that's about, oh, only one other thing. And I just want to say, everyone can go into Corral B. And I was looking up the different times, but everyone can go into Corral B because you're an LA Roadrunner. Please, the Corral B goes from, I looked it up earlier, 3:20 finish time to 3:50 finish time. That's it. 3:20 to 3:50. Now you can be in with those people, but I've been there. You don't really want to be there unless you're 3:20 to 3:50. And the reason is people will bump your shoulder because they're going, you're talking sub 8 hour to about 8:45 pace. That's what they're running. Got it? So if you're not within that pace, you're going to be falling back and they're going to be ditching around you, zooming around you, and they're going to bump your shoulder and then they scream, get the hell out of the way. And it's not a comfortable place to be, especially if you're like, a 10, 11, 12 minute per mile pace person. It's not a place where you want to be. Corral B, as Lucy said, will get you into C, D, or E, or the open corral. And as I already said, we will have pace leaders with signs from 3:30 to 6:30 in the open corral. We will also have pace leaders with signs from 3 hour to 5 hour. Note their duplicates, closed and open corrals from 3:30 to 5 hour will be duplicated in both the closed and the open corrals. So personally, I always used to like starting in open corrals for numerous reasons, but your call. Especially if you want to start with your pace leader, ask them whether most, not all, but most Griffith Park and Balboa Park pacers are going to be in closed corrals. Now we're only talking 3:30 to 5 hour. Everyone slower than 5 hour, all pace leaders will be in the open corral, all of them. Most Santa Monica pace leaders, 3:30 to 5 hour, will be in the open corrals. And then again, 5 hour and slower will all be in the open corrals. We do have some pace leaders who are in Corral A. Those are only 3 hour and 3:10 finish times. Our pace leaders in Corral A. And there are a few of our special A runners that will be in Corral A. And they've been training with Group 0 and Group 1A the whole season. So those are really kind of different people that we had specially gotten into Corral A. Regardless, that's it. I am done. I see 32 new questions. My God. I don't even know where to begin with this. Lucy, you want to jump in with some of this?
I think it's just a lot of it's just some chatting. So the
Oh,
good
okay,
news is
good.
I think most of
Thank
it has been
God.
answered.
Good.
It's really, yeah, I don't think you need to go through this.
If anybody does have a
Um,
question, maybe you want to turn on, scroll your cursor across the screen,
or
click on
put
your
your
audio.
or put your hand up is a if
Yeah,
you go down to the
Okay.
React.
great
Coach,
suggestion.
I have an idea. I've been looking at racecast.io for the LA Marathon weather forecast.
Hmm.
It starts you at 5 o'clock in the morning where we start.
Hmm.
and it ends up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon
Hmm.
with the weather forecast. So you might want to
Hmm.
look at that because it makes the most sense to me.
Sure.
Oh, that's great, Bertina. Thank you. What a
Yeah,
never
what's
heard
the
of that.
website? What's the website again?
Oh,
Racecast.io.
I'm not familiar with that one.
that's
That's
very
interesting.
cool. So they obviously are plotting it based on where you are in the city,
Mhm.
and that's very
Yeah, and
neat.
did you pick it up? Did you see it
I
yet?
did. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you for
You're
that.
welcome. My pleasure.
That is a very cool tip. And
Hmm.
she put it in the chat for anyone who is curious about it. It's a website, and there are a lot of different marathons on here too. Very
Hmm.
neat. Thank
Good.
you, Bertina.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
David, it's Lindsay. I just sent the link to your mobile phone, so you have it easy.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I already wrote it down too. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Great tip. Thanks.
Mina is asking what to eat for dinner on Saturday.
Um, Carbs. And not just Saturday. Keep in mind it takes 3 days for your stomach to totally digest something. I mean, really, right now, avoid alcohol. Alcohol is a diuretic. You don't want to show up on race day dehydrated, and it takes like 10 days to get rid of alcohol from your system or so. But it takes 3 days to digest a meal. So you may want to start adding a few more carbohydrates to your diet, even like tonight, tomorrow lunch, that kind of thing. Because what you're eating now, you're going to be utilizing nutrients and all on race day. But yeah, don't just carb load for a Saturday night and wake up all bloated and gassy in the morning because you just ate a truckload of pasta. Don't overdo it. I'm reminded Ironman races do not have their carbo load dinner on a Saturday night for a Sunday race. They have their carbo load dinner on a Friday night for a Sunday morning race. So I keep that in consideration. It's not just Saturday night. It's now Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I should say it's tomorrow. Breakfast on. Got it. So
And David,
there.
you mentioned adding a little salt to the breakfast on, and I'm sorry if you mentioned this earlier, but you said a little salt added to your breakfast on Sunday morning.
Oh yeah, you don't want to add a lot of salt to your meal before then because it can raise your blood pressure even a little. And that for some of you may cause you not to be able to sleep as well if you have a ton of sodium. You know what I suggest? What I would do before a marathon, before leaving for the corral, I would pop in 2 mineral pills or 1 mineral pill before leaving for the corral. And then I might even pop one in at Dodger Stadium. And then when they're doing the national anthem, I might do a gel right before the race goes off because there's more sodium in the gel. But for those of you who don't have mineral pills, what you may want to do is, hey, throw a little salt in your cereal. I mean, it's sodium. It would add a little more sodium to your morning, and you're going to use it because you sweat sodium. Yeah.
David, it's Lindsay again. By mineral pills, do you mean like the Salt Stick brand chews or pills or equivalent?
Salt stick chews don't quite have the same. Yeah, that
Oh,
works. But salt stick chews don't have the same amount of sodium as the pills. I always
mm,
got the capsules, the little, I wish I have a billion of them, but they're in the other room. That they're just clear little tiny capsules like you
yeah.
would normally get, and you can kind of pull them open and all the powder falls out, that kind of
Oh.
capsule. And you just pop them in your mouth at a water table. I'd pinch the cup, pop it in my mouth, see a water table, drink the water, pill goes down, done. I don't even have to stop. You
So
know,
I
I
need to
put, I
I
put,
need to chew more of the pills.
or, or,
Chew
or
more of
chew more of the
the
chews.
chew.
Yeah, you may need take a look at the amount of sodium, milligrams of sodium in the chews. I think it's like 1 to 3 ratio from the pills. I may be wrong on that. I'm just guessing. I haven't seen the chews in a long time. I think it's like something like 35 milligrams in one chew, and there's like 120 or something milligrams in a pill, something like that. I have to look it up again. But yeah, you probably want to take in around like 300 milligrams minimum of sodium, especially on a hot day. That would just be a normal day. So. Yeah. Chews are great though. And yeah, Salt Stick, great product. I have a bottles of those. I have a bottle of, I used to use all the time, Enduralights from Hammer Nutrition. Just think Hammer Out the Miles is the company, Hammer, and they make a product, the same exact identical thing in little capsules, called Enduralights, Endurance Electrolytes, Enduralights, sort of like electrolyte, but electrolyte. There you go. Those were always the two I used, gravitated toward. Anybody else question verbally or chat or hold your hand up or anything else? Okay. We still have 83 people online, which I find shocking. I usually have like, two people and a dog. You know what I mean?
I also wanted to say, I'm saying this for me too, because I am guilty of getting to the expo, working the expo for 2 days and getting to race day totally dehydrated. One of my other tips, like drink water all through the expo. Like, you don't realize you're walking around. It is an open space, right? And it's beautiful. But it is also a little windy right now. And I think it's going to be windy tomorrow. So you may even want to bring like a neck gaiter or something so that if it gets real dusty, you can put it up over your nose. But definitely carry water with you and, make it a giant water and hydrate. And like I said, I'm guilty of it. I've got so much water stocked at our tent for just me to drink.
Hmm.
It's ridiculous. And I probably won't drink any of it. So
But by the way, I hesitate to say this, but I feel I must. My wife reminded me yesterday that the Santa Ana winds are blowing through and they may be here on Sunday too. So another thing to consider.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm just not understanding this mother nature thing at the moment. She is just all over the place. Literally, what, 2 weekends ago, there was 4 feet of snow in Big Bear and it was pouring rain. So I don't know.
Our race director needs to get on it and make the phone call up there.
You
You know,
know, it's so frustrating because you can control so many things and you just can't control the weather. All
yeah.
right. Well,
Anybody else?
I think we can stay on if anyone else, but otherwise, I think if we'll give you back your evening, and thank you everybody for chiming in. If anyone needs to contact me, you can email me through the my email, but do note that it's very hard for me to get back in much of a timely manner. So hopefully, you can track me down at the expo.
Same here. Email, but I probably won't be able to see my email till tomorrow
Yeah,
night.
a little hard to find us.
Lucy
So.
and I will both be at the expo.
But your pace leaders, if you're LARR, your pace leaders are your most, your best resource right now. So reach
Mm.
out to them, come to the expo, ask questions, do what you need to do. Some of the pace leaders will be at the booth throughout the weekend. So come and talk to us and meet us.
Yeah. Oh, and
Thank
don't
you so much.
definitely
Thank
get your
you.
wristbands, everybody. Get your wristbands at the expo from our booth, our awning, our tent.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Thank
Excellent, you
you.
guys. Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
I'm going to turn off the recording. I'll stay on a little longer, but thanks everyone for chiming in. And good night from our recording.